Mbak?
PABRIK Gula, or translated to Sugar Mill in English. I wasn't able to find a showing for Good Boy yet again, so instead I went to Shudder, where I had seen this film had released a little while ago, being the latest film from the same director of The Dancing Village, The Curse Begins movie, which I had watched and reviewed last year. Check out my thoughts on that one up here. And this story is based on another story post by the same mysterious author that wrote the Dancing Village stories, Simple Man. So, of course, I'm gonna watch this. I'm also a sucker for fun foreign folk horror, and this film just does not disappoint. If you're looking for strange, creepy foreign towns riddled with rituals, ghosts, demons, and gods and goddesses and other monsters, then you've come to the right place. Especially if you're more into the diet type of horror that has a little bit of a focus on comedy as well as frights. Again, the title here is not that great, at least in English. Who's scared of a film called Sugar Mill? Ooh, maybe it's not a literal translation, but hey, I don't speak Javanese, so who knows. I think the film overall is meant to be a relatively fun time that explores the story of a haunted sugar mill as a factory area and the workers who accidentally rile up all the ghosts involved in the land. There's a ton of culturally significant information in here, including how the workers are lodged, how the work is split up among men and women, and even how the different ghosts show up and what they do. Some of them have rules, others like to play interesting jokes or pranks on the people. Others are a bit more malicious in their wants, and others are just plain mysterious. So if that is the kind of thing that interests you, stick around and check this film out. Of course, does that make the film good? Unfortunately, there are plenty of issues to go along with the positives, but I don't know, what do I think? Well, as usual, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, what is this movie even about? And apologies in advance if I mispronounce any of these names going forward in this review. Again, I do not speak the language. PABRIK Gula follows a story about a group of friends and workers on the island of Java in 2003 being shipped off to live and work at a sugar mill for the harvest season in order to make some money to bring back home. Rumors abound that the mill has to subcontract laborers from further away due to superstition and an accident in a warehouse that claimed the lives of dozens of other workers in a fire. When the group of friends arrive, it really doesn't take them long to start to experience supernatural events, but it quickly becomes clear that the ghosts might actually have some more dangerous motives going on. The biggest highlight this film has, besides the cultural aspects, is just the sheer range of ghost designs going on. You have burning bodies, flying witches, a demon-like stilt walker that shows up a few times, and even some fun designs that play on beheadings and other mystical accounts, and even some really fun possession scenes. There is so much here just from the creature designs alone. There's also a ton of ghosts that show up far in the background, watching the characters that you can spot at various points throughout the film that either the characters never notice or they don't point out. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the background ghosts in Haunting of Hill House, for example. It's fun to see them and point them out. I also think the directing style is pretty fun. The movie is unfortunately riddled with less than stellar bits, like plenty of canned, not scary at all jump scares, but for every jump scare that doesn't work, there are several creative moments that do work. They might not be particularly frightening, but the direction and the cinematography is on point with them. This director, for example, absolutely loves playing with mirrors. There are several shots of characters messing with or looking into mirrors and then turning around to either see something that wasn't reflected in them or a ghost appearing in the mirror. It's predictable, sure, but it's used to great effect. There's one really memorable scene, for example, where our lead girl Enda is talking to one of her friends, but then looks into the mirror to find it reflecting a ghost instead of her friend, and the camera starts to swing from the mirror to the friend and back again over and over again in an unbroken shot. And again, the outcome is predictable, but that's just so much fun. On top of scenes like that, you also have more unique ghost interactions, like some fantastic looking wire work to make the ghosts float menacingly, and that one really tall stilt walker dressed up like this demon figure. It is amazing every time it's on screen. I wish we got to see a little bit more of it, but it's so cool. It feels like something you'd see walking into Halloween Horror Nights. It's so much fun and seems like it was done practically, so I love that. Most of this film, as far as I can tell, is actually done practically, with some characters using bright contacts for possession scenes or some amazing makeup for the other ghosts. CG is used, but it's pretty sparingly for the most part. When it is used, it is rather obvious, but it's used for effects that clearly couldn't be done practically without a much larger budget. And I don't think it's really obtrusive either. You can see when it shows up, but it's used so sparingly in place for practical scares that I really don't mind at all. Of course, though, this film isn't perfect and does have some cons. Well, more than a few, but I need to point out some acting first. I'll get into the cons later. Our main girl Enda is played by Ursia Aurelia, who plays the role pretty well. I don't think she really comes into her own until the climax, though. Up until then, she's mostly just disturbed by the events she sees and the ghosts haunting her, but by the end, she's really exploring a ton of other emotions and exploring this friend group so much better. I just hate that it took so long to get there. She's kind of just shy and reserved up until then. The same could be said for her co-star Arbani Aziz, playing our main male lead Fadil. Same name of the character from Grave Torture. Interesting. Check out my review for that. He's got a few fun scenes with ghosts where he has to act disturbed, but also kind of annoyed with them. He treats them like nightmares in a few scenes, and it's funny to see his reaction go from being annoyed but scared to fully frightened once he realized that they're not actually dreams. He doesn't get as much to do, sadly, in favor of Enda, but I think he's still a good time overall. I should also probably point out Arif Alfianza as Dwi and Benedictus Sirigar as Frankie. These two serve mostly as comedic relief characters, cracking jokes and having funny, over-the-top reactions to certain ghosts, but the rapport they have between each other is so damn good, and the two just vibe really well in their roles. I don't think the roles are needed, but these two just fit it really well. One joke in particular that had me chuckling was, at one point, Frankie asked to be hit to make sure he's not dreaming, and this tiny guy Dewey just straight up decks him in the face. That was great. I loved that. I just wish the film relied less on comedic relief overall, but I'm glad that it was mostly these two characters that carried it. The last actress I want to mention here is Dewi Pakis as Mbajina. Her role is essentially the wise woman of the work camp. She handles the rituals, offers sacrifices when needed, and is the most knowledgeable person here. She doesn't have much to do until the second half of the film, but when she starts performing the rituals, she really shines. I think most of it is in her facial acting, especially when she's performing the dance rituals or if she gets possessed. Suddenly her eyes get really wide and her expression shifts to this wild manic state that is so different from how she is for the rest of the film, where she's very set. I really enjoyed it. She was just a ton of fun to watch in general, and it's so interesting to see her be able to go from disappointed to caring to shocked to absolute giddiness. It is a ride, and she is great. There are a ton of other characters and actors here as well, but I think that starts to lead me into my next point, being the negatives with this film. The first one being that there are simply way too many characters here. They're easy to keep track of, even when they're divided between male and female lodges, but the story actively takes detours away from the main story to follow side characters with scenes that don't really contribute at all to the overall plot. Most of them have some interesting ghost bits accompanying them to justify justify their existence, but it doesn't change the fact that you could cut those particular scenes out of the film and lose nothing of substance. Right away, the main group is 8 characters, and then you have another 5 off to the side that you have to know about and follow along. It's just too much. The other issue here is that there are too many comedic relief characters. Dwee and Frankie should have been the only 2, so why is there another comedy duo added into the film in the form of the superstitious and incredibly inept security guards Rano and Carno? These 2 especially don't do anything at all besides escort a couple of characters to certain areas or just stand watch. They serve no purpose story-wise, and they very much get in the way doing over-the-top reactions to spooky events like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, which we already have Dwee and Frankie for. It just doesn't work here. We don't need them. And that's a little bit of my main gripe here as well. The story doesn't seem well thought out. The film is just over 2 hours long, and a good chunk of that feels like filler to flesh out the ghosts a bit more. The ghost scenes are fun, but if they're not plot relevant, why are they here? The film is already long, so why bloat it? Granted, the film doesn't feel like 2 hours, but still, the ending is incredibly rushed. Once the resolution starts, the film is over in a couple of minutes. There's, I think, 2 lines of dialogue after the climax is finished, and then the credits roll. At least there are 2 mid-credit scenes for whatever reason, but they don't add much context outside of potential sequel baiting. It really just made the ending feel rushed and unsatisfying, which isn't good when the film is otherwise pretty tame. Just like The Dancing Village, this movie is very light on the horror. There's no real gore at all besides some bleeding eyes here and there. The body horror doesn't exist, and while some ghost effects are spooky and fun, they aren't particularly frightening. This is a very easy film to recommend to people who are squeamish in that regard, but want to explore foreign films. In that case, I think this movie is perfect for that. It's a fun time overall that doesn't really have much substance behind it, but it is memorable enough with its ghosts and the cultural effects, like how a wayang performance is included in the plot. Wayang, for those that don't know, is a type of Indonesian shadow puppet show that holds important cultural significance, and it is really interesting to see it appear here. Last I saw it used as a plot point was in Impedagore, which I also recommend, and it's just so cool to dive into the culture even more than we already are. So overall, I think this movie is decent. It's light, fluffy, a bit too long and way too focused on comedy rather than scares, but the culture is front and center, and the ghost effects are just added sprinkles on top. There's nothing in this you really haven't seen before. In fact, a couple of these scares very much come from other movies, but it's cool to see them done here as well. Overall, I think it's a great exploration into Indonesian, specifically Javanese, culture, and another solid story from Simple Man, the mystery writer. I don't know if they're going to do more of them, but okay. I do also want to point out that while the film is subtitled, that really shouldn't stop you from checking it out. When I was getting ready to watch this, I looked up the reviews, and too many reviews were trashing the film and not even giving it a chance because the reviewer, who more than likely didn't even watch the movie, didn't want to read, with several people calling for dubs, and that kind of pisses me off. Dubs are expensive, and sometimes they make an experience worse. Subtitles are great. Dubs are good if you can get them, but they shouldn't be relied on. If you have problems reading them and following the plot of a movie, then you have other issues to figure out. I'm sorry. It's not that hard to follow subtitles. Oh my god. But anyways, this is an easy recommendation. I think this film is a great stepping stone into Indonesian films and should be a good time for anyone wanting to experience a fun, folksy horror tale from another country without too much squeamish stuff. This isn't May the Devil Take You or Satan's Slaves or Queen of Black Magic. This is much tamer and would be a perfect first Indonesian film for people trying to step into it. So give it a watch. Ultimately, PABRIK Gula, aka Sugar Mill, gets a 6.5 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. Yeah, I love my foreign films and it's been a while since I've seen one. I know this director dropped another movie earlier this year. I don't know what it is with Indonesian films in particular, but they rush through movies. Like, they release them so fast. And when I was looking up what these actors have done, most of them have done TV series before, but I'm talking hundreds of episodes released in the span of 2 years, which baffles me. I haven't watched the episodes, so maybe they're like TikToks or something and they're really short, but 200 something episodes in 2 years? Jesus, that's so much. It's like the One Piece, but it's out of Indonesia. I don't know. I think this movie was a lot of fun. I can see people really getting into it, and I think it's a good movie to have on for the season right now. It is good, spooky, but not too spooky. It's just pretty fun. And again, really memorable ghosts here that do different things. They're so much fun to watch. So definitely check that out. And then once you get a feel for it, you can start getting the more in-depth Indonesian horror. Like, I'd say start with this one, go to Impedagore, and then start to explore the other more gory, more graphic ones. I don't know, what did you guys think? Did you see this movie? Did you see any other Indonesian horror films that I should check out? I know there's plenty, and frankly, I haven't really seen a single one that I dislike for the most part, so send me those recommendations. After that, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video, and yeah, that's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song on your own, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.